What is the #1 killer of Variegated Monstera? Root rot. What is the #2 killer of Variegated Monstera? Root rot. Any conversation about Variegated Monstera care and maintenance and fundamentals has to focus a lot on prevention of root rot. So today we're going to talk a lot about prevention of root rot as well as other aspects of Variegated Monstera care and fundamentals. Hello plant friends! If you're new to this channel, I'm a doctor and plant hobbyist in Los Angeles. I try to make videos about my collection. I try to bring and introduce new plants to you guys, as well as offer some practical and rational care tips. So this video is going to focus on the fundamentals. I'm going to be talking about the albo as an example. The Variegated Monstera albo is the white one. If you're confused or curious about the different varieties of Variegated Monstera, I did make a video about that. I'll try to link it up there and post a link in the description. The reason we're going to focus on the albo is that in my experience and also talking with other collectors, it is by far the most sensitive and the most finicky and the most nitpicky of the Variegated Monstera varieties. So if you can master the albo, you're good to go with any of the other Variegated Monstera. The first thing we're going to talk about is soil. If root rot is the #1 cause of albo tragedy, mortality, morbidity, mastering the soil is, you're halfway there. If you got you're probably more than halfway. I think you're probably about like 80% there if you can master the soil. If you're doing your research, you're watching your videos, you're on Facebook and forums, and you're asking around about what is the best soil composition or mixture, you're gonna get a lot of responses. Oh, there's probably like hundreds of, 30% this, 10% that, this, and this. Everyone has their own little recipe. Ignore all that and focus on the bigger picture, right? The bigger picture is what? You need a soil composition that is airy and well draining. That's it. That is the overlying fundamental, and how you interpret that according to your experience, your resources, how much you're willing to spend on soil, as well as your environment dictates the rest. Bad bacteria in the soil grows when it's damp and there's not enough air, right? So you want a very, very light, well-draining, well-aerated soil so that that bad bacteria doesn't grow and eat up your roots. Stay away or back off on potting soil. The potting mix that you find at Home Depot or Lowe's or any of the big box stores, that is not airy, that is dense, right? It's not well draining. It holds a lot of moisture. That's not good for your tropical plants, and it's especially not good for your Variegated Monstera. I recommend that people in their composition use less than 50% potting mix. I normally lean towards about 30% potting mix and 70% something else. So what is something else? Something else is perlite, bark, orchid mix, right? You can use sphagnum moss, basically anything that's not potting mix or potting soil, and just kind of add it together, right? So if you mix that all up, your potting mix should look like a fruit salad. For me personally, I use about 30% potting mix and 70% other stuff, right? So other stuff is usually a mixture of perlite, bark, orchid mix is usually my other stuff. So the soil mixture as I'm currently using, has bark, orchid mix, perlite, and soil. As you can see, it is chunky like a fruit salad, right? And whenever I water it, the water drains very well. You do not need a fancy potting mix. You do not need exact measurements. If you're measuring precisely and scaling and weighing your soil compositions, you're overdoing it. That's a bit You can, but I would say that, you do not need to go that far. The fundamental principle that you need to remember is that your soil needs to be airy and well draining. That's it. So after you decide on your soil composition, the next step is to decide on your pot. All my plants are in terracotta. And the reason for that is that I tend to be an overwaterer. So my plants, if I put it in a glazed pot or any other sort of pot that's not terracotta, they tend to just stay wet for too long, and that's caused me problems in the past. So this plant here is in terracotta. The terracotta whisks away excess moisture, so it really acts as a good barrier against root rot. And then also, as the terracotta is whisking away the excess moisture, that moisture also adds to your humidity level. Some people don't like terracotta for the reason that it does whisk away the moisture. If you live in a very hot or dry place, you can find that if you use terracotta, it can dry up your soil and your plant a lot. So if that's the case for you, then you can always move to, a glazed pot or, a ceramic, basically any of the other pots, or a plastic growing pot, if that works for you. But again, unless that's been a proven case for you, I really, really recommend going with terracotta first. It is the safest. I have never heard of a variegated monstera dying from being too dry, right? Like no one's gone like, oh my gosh, I've killed my variegated monstera because I turned around and it was too dry and it just like completely died, right? Root rot will catch you off guard. Variegated monstera, when they're dry, their leaves will curl. You have plenty of time to act. So don't worry so much about that, right? Always err on the side of being too dry than being too wet and risking root rot. Always try terracotta. I really, really want to stress this fact. Try the terracotta first. And if it's too dry for you, if you're feeling the soil and you're watering, you have to water every day or every 2 days, yes, then you should probably switch to a plastic or a different type of pot. It's really helped me. It's probably saved the life of a lot of my plants. So I really, really highly recommend that. Hey guys, if you're finding this content useful or enjoyable, please do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It helps me a lot. The next thing people talk about or wonder about is the light requirement. I'm sure you've read around or if you've talked around and the answer is bright indirect light. Do variegated monstera need bright indirect light? No. I will repeat that. Do variegated monstera need bright indirect light? No. They do not need it. Do they want it? Does it help? Yes. Do they need it? No. Because you keep hearing that term bright indirect light, I think a lot of people are overestimating how much light these variegated monstera really need. My albo is situated across from a very large window, and the distance is about, I would say, about 3 feet away. At 3 feet away from the window, you're not really getting that much light intensity reaching the plant. I would consider this indirect and medium light. I would still be very cautious about the indirect part. I think that part is true. Direct light is bad and is prone to burn your leaves. So definitely I think that part is very correct. But I think the brightness is, even though preferred, is not needed. So if you're thinking about getting one of these guys, or you're just figuring out where to put your variegated monstera around your place, don't go way out of your way. Way out of your don't go too much out of your way to put them in a bright indirect area. Okay, so medium light is fine. They will do fine. That's where mine are. They are fine. Okay, Next, we're going to talk about humidity. Everyone talks about humidity. Humidity this, humidity that. My plant is dying or whatever is because the humidity is too low. Is humidity good for your variegated monsteras, especially the albo? Yes. You want high humidity. I would say the bare minimum for a variegated monstera albo is probably about 60%. You can probably go down to 50% if you have a Thai constellation. I think Thai constellations, they're a lot more hardy, more robust, less sensitive. So you can probably go down to about 50%, maybe even lower a little bit, and they'll still be generally fine. Variegated Monstera albos, I think the Aria as well, the leaves are just a little bit more sensitive, and I really don't know why. It's probably due to the type of variegation. So their leaves just tend to burn more, to bruise more, and crisp up more, especially on the white parts. If you want the white parts to stay white and pretty and Instagram worthy, yes, crank up the humidity as much as you want, as much as is worth it for you. Like I've said many times in my videos, my humidity is just the ambient humidity of where I live, which is about 60 to 70%. I live in Southern California near the beach, so that's just sort of the humidity that's around me. I really don't use that much humidifiers, though I know that a lot of my friends in Los Angeles who are more inland, where it's drier, they do really, really well with humidifiers. I would say aim for 60 to 70. And that's about all I can say and all I want to say about humidity. Okay, 60 to 70. If it's lower, that's fine for a Thai. But if it's lower and you have an albo, just be okay with the albo leaves burning up, crisping up, and not looking as pretty as the ones that you see on Instagram. Don't drive yourself crazy with the humidity. One of the reasons why I don't augment my humidity a lot is that, well, I don't like humidity, and I live where I live because the humidity isn't crazy. My hair fizzes or whatever's with humidity, so I don't like being in a very humid environment, even though I know that a lot of my plants would probably be happier with higher humidity. I suppose we should talk about watering. All I can really say about that is water your plants. I just use normal tap water. I don't have the time or the patience to use any sort of special water. I basically take the water out of the tap and it goes into my plants. Basically all my plants just get tap water. So the last thing I want to talk about that I really, really think is a fundamental, even though I feel like a lot of growers and collectors and other people don't talk about it as much, but it's the importance of a moss pole. You are really doing your variegated monstera a disservice if you do not give it a support structure to climb on. You are compromising its growth, its form. It is more than just a support structure. It's more than just something that allows you to train and mold your monstera to grow upward. It's also something that augments growth and development and the form of your monstera. My albo is against this moss pole, which I made. Oh wow, I did not even know this. Look at this. This root, which I thought just ended around here, actually, whoa, it extends all the way up there. Wow, I did not even realize that yet. That's great. If you are looking into making your own moss pole at home, it's really easy. I share my secret method. It's I guess it's not really a secret, but I share my method of making your own moss pole in a video. I'll try to link it above, and then I'll post a link on the description below. You know, if you're thinking about keeping your Monstera happy, give it a moss pole. Right, and look forward to one of my future videos where I go way much more into depth about that and explain all my thoughts about the importance of the moss pole and why, as a plant community, I feel we are currently undervaluing and underappreciating the importance of the moss pole. I know some of you guys are probably curious about fertilizers or about grow lights and other stuff. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. Like I said, this video is just about the fundamentals. If you enjoyed the content, please like, subscribe. It really, really helps me a lot. I appreciate all comments. I reply to all of them. So that's it. Happy planting. Thanks again for watching.